thank Jagran for making sure that we are focusing on markets beyond Delhi and Bombay. We in Exchange for Media Pitch and Impact tend to focus on what happens in Delhi, Bombay, at best Bangalore. So I'd like to thank Basant and the whole Jagran team for making this happen. And to start, hopefully we'll start focusing on more markets and deep dive into those markets, and for marketeers and media professionals simplify and get into those markets in depth. I'd like to welcome again the Honorable Chief Guest for the evening, Shri Sushil Kumar Modi, who's the Deputy Chief Minister of Bihar. Sir, thank you for being here, and thank you for patiently sitting in the audience and getting to know about Bihar. Probably you know more about Bihar than all of us put together, but still thank you for being patient. And also would like to welcome Shri Vijay Kumar Chaudhary, the Water Resources Minister of Bihar. Water is a very important thing, both from a spiritual standpoint. We have Buddha here. My spiritual friends tell me that, if you want to feel good, have water around you, and I say it in a very serious manner. So thank you. It's a very important portfolio that you handle, sir. And thank you for your address. Now, I'm standing between Mr. Modi's address and the dinner and all of you. So I really like to sum it up and really ask very pointed questions to the speakers. Four of them were so worried about my moderating that they left the hall. My friend Dheeraj, Dheeraj took the first flight to Bombay, He made sure he didn't even stay in the city of Delhi. He just took the first flight. And Salil is no longer here. Alok is not. But just to sum up, really Dheeraj talked about the aspirations of the average Bihari moving up. And he talked about how no longer Bihar can be stereotyped in the manner Chetan has been. And sir, his name is Chetan, my name is Annurag, unless until he decides to change his name today. And he lives in a big house, so I don't mind shifting there, Chetan. I know that house is owned by a wife, but still. And Alok talked about how governance improves markets, and he talks about his experiences with the market in the earlier regimes and 20 years back. And sir, I must tell you, at one of the media parties, I don't know which media companies, I introduced Mr. Sinha, who's sitting here on the dais, and he's missed a very important function in Bombay to be amongst us, and he's also on the board of Jagran, so he has multiple reasons to be here. I introduced Mr. Sinha as Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad to one of the persons present, and he actually started talking to him as if he's Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad. I'm sure when you saw him, you also for a second felt that Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad is there. But let me tell you, that's Mr. Shashi Sinha. And if there was to be a vote for the most popular person in our industry, most lovable person in our industry, I can tell you he'd win hands down. And I don't have to pander to him, but I genuinely feel he'll win hands down. And he talked about how today there are three V's. And really, I know V. John is here, but he really talked about value, volume, and variety, and how Bihar in these three things is moving up. Anisha talked about emerging markets. My friend Professor Amit Kapoor talked about the demographic dividend and how it can be a multiplier and how it can really be an accelerator. Salil talked about consumption of entertainment, and that was really interesting to me, because when we talk about growth, we talk about human beings' growth, we talk about Maslow's hierarchy. And the reason that entertainment consumption is growing up means that in all other aspects, as per the Maslow's hierarchy, the individuals, the consumers, the citizens are being fulfilled. So really, entertainment consumption can be a big pointer. And our friends from Vijon talked about brands and how the market of Bihar is really a place where their brands are thriving and they see more potential as they go forward. Satyajit really talked about how touch points in Bihar are critical ways of looking at the growth of Bihar, and how for various product categories there is potential. So really that's what our esteemed speakers of the evening talked about, and all of them are accomplished in their own way. Last but not the least, Mr. Pradeep Kashyap, who's really the father of rural marketing. I can tell you he's a fountainhead. If you need to understand anything about rural India, you need data, you need insights, he's the man to go to. I mean, I practically know everybody in this domain, and I have no problem in saying he's the go-to man for rural India. And he talked about how today the the towns that are somewhere in between rural and urban are really the towns that will see the real growth that are still unexplored. And he talked about how education is happening, but employability is not happening. And as somebody who is responsible for governing of the country, how you can really help in increasing employability. So, you know, I'd really like to use this opportunity to have a tete-a-tete with the eminent panelists. What is, and I'd like to keep it brief, very pointed answers. What is the one takeaway that you got from another presentation? Not your one takeaway when you were listening to other speakers. What was that one present? We can start with you, sir. Can we get a mic? Yeah.
I think Mr. Pradeep very rightly said that we need to increase the connectivity to the rural areas. If we have roads to reach rural, brands like ours will do much better in future. Sure.
So, you know, really when you have one eminent speaker taking a cue from another eminent speaker, I think that serves the purpose of the evening. Satyajit, anything that you learned?
Yeah, from Salil, you know, the whole thing of content, the entertainment consumption. That to my mind was really a top-up from our touch points, etc. How consumers are changing, and it's real story of that, you know, consumer appetite, consumer aspirations are changing.
And did you really learn as Zenith Optimedia something from the Lodestar Universal presentation?
I'll speak to Sashi separately, additionally.
Okay. You won't agree. Sir, it's like Congress and the BJP, so he won't agree to, he doesn't have anything to learn. No, I'm just kidding. It's more friendly than that. It's more friendly than that. Mr. Sinha, anything that...
There were 2 points. One was the point made that, you know, finally the change in thinking, which from the ground is being picked up through your research, and that itself, when there is a mindset change, everything else follows. I thought that was a very big thought, and also what the minister said, you know, in a way related point, find purpose, the means will follow. So I thought when the thinking is right, when the philosophy is there, that itself, I mean, it can move mountains. So to me, that was, not having visited Bihar in the recent past, that was a very big thought to me.
Brilliant. Mr. Kashyap, I know you sat very patiently through other presentations. Any thought from the speakers that really added to your thinking or your insights?
You know, toward the end of the evening, I was thinking that now you're going to hear the same old stories. But I really like what Amit talked about, because I've heard a lot about Bihar and one has an idea, but I think he put it into a very good framework that Bihar is really at the takeoff stage. And if you can now continue the same way, it can really become the next Bombay in terms of its potential. So I think there is a lot that's going for Bihar. And in a short period of 10 years, this is a totally different story. These stories are made in Bollywood, but this has happened for real. So really, all compliments to you.
Professor Kapoor, yes. Anything that you learned from other speakers?
Yes, 2 things actually. One was that the need for infrastructure and going to the rural areas. That was a very powerful thing that was said. And then was something on young demographics that the lady from Max New York had said, in terms of like how that is going to increase possibilities, media consumption, and that's going to drive growth.
Brilliant. As I said, let's go from you. Is this growth of Bihar irreversible? Or do you feel is it linked to a political party or a political leader? I know we have a current government which is a JDU and a BJP combined. But do you think like this country's growth, Dr. Manmohan Singh started in 1991 and then we had a BJP government in between, but we still carried on the path. What do you feel about the growth in Bihar? Do you think it's linked to a political party or a political leader, or is it going to happen irrespective of whoever it is?
Anurag, the growth is continuing to happen, or is going to continue to happen at a scorching pace, because what this government has done is that they've really sown the seeds for the long term. It's irrespective of whether they stay or they do not stay in the government. It's actually going to have long-term implications which are going to last for about 15 to 20 years.
So let me ask you, I don't know, sir, Bihar politics and that well. I have lots of Bihari friends. And I must tell you a small thing. I was thinking about Bihari food. I think a lot about food. I dream a lot. And you know, I didn't know till about 2 years back that I'm a Punjabi and I grew up near Delhi. I didn't grow up in Delhi. But I ate sattu when I was young. But I always thought it was a Punjabi dish. But only very few years back I realized that sattu is something that comes from Bihar. So, you know, everybody has So pardon me if I make some faux pas about Bihar, but I wanted to ask you, just in case, do you think even if Lalu Prasad Yadav came back as the Chief Minister of Bihar, though there are very few chances of that, unless until really a miracle happens or a catastrophe happens, whichever. So, do you think the growth will still continue, sir?
I think like what you're saying is if misfortune strikes Bihar, that's a different issue. But I would expect that misfortune does not strike it. Irrespective of that, I think the seeds have been sown for growth. Whatever or whosoever comes in, he cannot destroy the momentum that has actually happened there.
And the reason I think more people are buying Dish TV is because there is less entertainment from Lalu. So I think they need to tune into something for Dish. So I think that's the logic I gave myself. But on a very serious, Mr. Kashyap, what's your viewpoint on this?
I am a firm believer that behind the success of any enterprise is the entrepreneur. At the heart of the enterprise is the entrepreneur. So you couldn't have had Amul without Dr. Korea, and you couldn't have had Reliance without Dhirubhai Ambani. So I don't think you can have Bihar without Nitish Kumar, as the Chief Minister. So I think the success of any government is the person at the helm of affairs.
Sure. Mrs. Sinha also talked about social entrepreneurship, and I know 2-3. So really, what do you feel?
So I actually want to just comment on what Mr. Kashyap said, that if actually Bihar is a case in social entrepreneurship, and leadership makes a difference, So while it's easy to say that the momentum has started, and it's a nice thing to say, but the truth of the matter is it's all about people, and people make a difference. So whoever comes in next, we don't want anyone else to come in, but if anyone comes in, if it's a different social fabric and a different structure, things won't be the same. Same Mr. Manmohan Singh, politically incorrect thing to say, the same Mr. Manmohan Singh 15 years back was different, is different now. So it's important to, people make the difference, you can't take away from that.
So you believe that really if the kind of governance and the kind of government stays, only then what's happening in Bihar is sustainable to some extent?
I'm saying it's not only the kind of governance, it's the thinking also. The thinking should not change, there is a momentum that started, and if they build on that, I refer to that social entrepreneurship. That's critical. So that's
sure. It is. Satyajit, any viewpoint on this?
I agree with Shashi completely, because when you are developing something so fragile, you need to have spirit and commitment behind it, and it really comes from the top, and you need to be committed to it. So therefore, the quality of governance is important, especially when it is not self-sustainable.
Brilliant. And sir, what's your viewpoint on this?
I think this change, what has happened majorly is because of the new thinking which has come with the new government. But since the change has happened already, the infrastructure is built, the public has started thinking about it. Now it is very difficult Bihar to look back, irrespective of the government.
Brilliant. Since we have Shri Sushil Kumar Modi here and Shri Vijay Kumar Chaudhary here, I'd like you to, what's your expectations from the government of Bihar? Let's make use of Mr. Modi's presence here and maybe share our wish list with him. That's one thing from your work in competitiveness domain, from your interactions with stakeholders in Bihar. That's one thing. What would you like to request Mr. Modi? Is there a wish list? We could start from you, sir.
Very rightly, I think Amit addressed that we should invite the industries to Bihar now. We need to have such a taxation structure in which industries come and put up their manufacturing units. This is the right time for doing it, I think.
So what are you asking the government of Bihar?
The government of Bihar to create a tax-free zone over there, like the other states have done, and invite the industries over there. So in some way, let's say Narayan Dutt Tiwari did with Sitkul many years back. Really, that area around Sitkul was nothing, and by establishing a tax-free zone, look at the kind of industrial development that happened there. That has happened in Guwahati also, Assam and Himachal Pradesh with Himachal Pradesh and Uttaranchal, you rightly said. Sir. Sure.
It was not NDP one. At that time, the central government gave the special category to trust. That's why industries came to.
Right. So Mr. Modi, those who could not hear him, is saying it was not just Mr. Tiwari's state government that really enabled that. It was the government at the center which made sure that happened. So while they can request for it and they would be all for it, really it needs to happen from the central government. because as you know, taxation issues are...
There is another difference in the taxation structure of Bihar, that is for the Ayurvedic medicines. You know, most of the states, they do the VAT is applicable over there. But Bihar is one of those states where the tax is on MRP. So what has happened is that the taxation for the consumer goes very high, and the neighboring states are charging much lesser taxes for the Ayurvedic medicine. I think that can be addressed.
Sure. Satyajit, anything, you know, you have lots of Bihari media planners. I mean, would you like him to urge him to give you a better quality of media planners?
Yeah, and therefore what it means is that, Anurag, if you have to have a sustainable consumer base, the whole idea of having more skill development, you know, means that's something which will be interesting. Our young demographics, skill development, that means a sustainable consumer base.
So what's your request to the Deputy Chief Minister?
To have, means, you know, it's probably not necessary to produce graduates. If you could have more vocational institutes, you know, which could lead to, you know, small scale industry, which could lead to more economic productivity, means, you know, among the what we call the socio-cultural regions of Bihar, among the districts of Bihar, that tier 4 towns, so to speak.
Mr. Sinha?
I think from my perspective, the request I make is, you know, there's something unique to Bihar. Like there are two different Mr. Modis, they're not similar to each other in many ways. They're two different. The state of Gujarat cannot be the state of Bihar. And I say with all sincerity, I think there is something dramatic about Bihar, you know, and I referred to it in my presentation, that there is a skill set, there is professional, self-employed professionals there. There is something unique. So one is the obvious temptation of looking like a nano plant coming into Bihar, and what are the pros and cons of that? Or there are certain strengths which the ethos, the milieu, and the people of Bihar bring, and if you can build on that, there is a certain, you know, intelligence they bring to the table. There is a certain social consciousness they have. If that is all collated together to create a distinct identity, which is what he alluded to in terms of ensuring that there are a lot more small entrepreneurships which come, which is the future of the country also, we believe. And rightly so, that's what will grow India, that's what will grow China. And to go back to the minister's statement, if Bihar is the epicenter of what India was 200 years back, it could be that way if you start with small scale entrepreneurship. So that's my suggestion. Don't necessarily look at other markets. It's a unique market by itself.
So I endorse your suggestion. I'm sure the Deputy Chief Minister and his cabinet colleague would take notice of that and hopefully implement. Mr. Kashyap, what's your request to the Deputy Chief Minister?
You know, I think Bihar has articulated a very powerful vision, and it's also drawn up plans, and it's working in the right direction. But my request would be that Bihar has to keep the focus on good governance.
So continue that, accelerate that.
Yes, because all that can be vitiated if the governance is not...
Sure. Professor Kapoor?
Anurag, three things. One, I would say that the ease of doing business in Bihar needs to change.
And why do you say that, sir?
Because I would say that the number of days it takes to start a business or really have an enterprise come in. So I would say it has to be made a lot easier. If that actually happens, then it is going to drive growth. So you need to actually look at those indicators as to what drive that. The second thing, that actually leads to the regulatory structure or the regulatory mechanism that we have. And the third thing I would suggest is that competitiveness should be the underlying agenda in terms of like productivity needs to increase. And I would rather suggest that Bihar should actually have a competitiveness plan for the next 20 years as to what needs to be done, what should be the vision for each.
Of course, they should appoint you as the competitiveness consultant. I would make that recommendation to you, sir.
That is
Since he and me went to the same class in the same business school, and we were both not in the class most times. But
this is exactly what I was recommending to the Honorable Deputy CM sir.
Right. No, but just to tell you that Professor Kapoor is doing cutting-edge work in the competitiveness domain, and it's been recognized all across the country, and he's a leading columnist with Mint and almost all the leading economic publications and platforms, and he's bringing the Porter Prize. And those of you who don't know Michael Porter, I must tell you, he's not a cricketer. He's the father of competitiveness theory. He's not a cricketer because a lot of people ask me, so which IPL team does he play for? So I have to tell them that he's not a cricketer. He's a competitiveness expert, and he's bringing the Porter Prize to India, which is very prestigious. So he's doing work. As I said, we're really looking forward to listening to you. So my last question to the esteemed speakers for the day: if you had to do a little bit of crystal ball gazing, where do you see Bihar the one thing that you see about Bihar in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever timeline, what's that one thing that you see about Bihar? Can you shut them up? You know, the guys who are speaking behind? They're not supposed to do that. They're not getting paid for that.
If I do a crystal ball gazing, I think Bihar would be the driver for growth within the country. It is going to be a driver in terms of like the maximum level of gains that you're going to have on productivity is going to be within the state of Bihar. I would suspect if Bihar continues the way it is growing, it should actually double, if not treble, its per capita incomes in the next 5 years. And the numbers actually suggest that it could actually go towards that direction. So I would really see it as a driver and the consumption driver within the country.
Brilliant. Mr. Kashyap.
I would think that Bihar would find its rightful place in the country, the way the minister talked that, you know, Bihar was India and the history of India was the history of Bihar. So I hope that that's the way it will turn out.
I think with the young population which is skewed in favor of Bihar and which is skewed in the global environment skewed in favor of India and within India skewed in favor of Bihar, I think that's a great opportunity. It can swing both ways if not handled right, you know. So I think, but I'm sure it will be handled right. We have very high hopes. So that, in a manner of speaking, is not only is it going to be the future of India from a point of view of large, should I say, growth base, but also from a point of view of a market which is so huge. So I think there's a great potential there.
Yeah. Satyajit.
Well, I have a very mundane wish.
Your next boss should be a Bihari. No? Right? I have 3 names also for them, but I'll give you that later. But yeah, go ahead, sir.
So, if in next 3 to 5 years, if Bihar could be my 7th priority market, I'll be more than happy as far as the Indian market prioritization is concerned.
Sir.
For us, Bihar is already one of the most, one of the biggest priority market, and I think that continues. And the way we see that there's huge population between 15 to 25 in Bihar, that means a lot of students are there. They will grow up in next 5 years and create new things over there. So Bihar after 5 years maybe would be one of the most flourishing states in India.
Thank you, sir. And I'll say only again one thing from I've been to Patna maybe thrice, only to Patna. And I had invested in a media school with a media owner friend of mine who's now looking down on us from his heavenly abode. And I went for a seminar and spoke at the seminar, and then being a Punjabi, I wanted to go to Patna Sahib. So I drove from Maurya, the hotel, you know, to Patna Sahib. And the roads to Patna Sahib were, I couldn't imagine. I mean, I hadn't been to a road like that in a city, in any state capital. So I hope the next time I go to Patna, maybe they're already better. I haven't been to Patna in a while. But my wish is that the road to Patna Sahib Gurdwara is much better. Very simple wish, not a big wish. But, you know, really, you know, that would be indicative of how things are changing. So it might sound very simple, but from a philosophical standpoint, I'd like to see a road to the Gurdwara being very, very good. And, you know, I was just thinking, I mean, there are lots of Biharis in our profession, but for this seminar, we invited 3 of them, and unfortunately they couldn't be there. So in our business, in our domain, there are lots of Biharis who've done well. I can think of 3 whom we invited for this session, and their dates for some reason. My friend Dr. Pramath Raj Sinha, who was with ISB, who set up ISB and who's 9.9, and he's just set up a university in Kundli. He's written a book. Tripurari Sharan, who is an IS officer and who's now the Director General of Doordarshan. And I had the good pleasure of playing cricket with him in 1994, because when I was doing my MBA, he was doing his executive MBA from Management Development Institute, Gurgaon. So I've known him for me and Amit have known him for 18 years. Amit doesn't get the gift for me like he gets for Mr. Sharan, but Amit, then maybe that's a tip to you. And last but not least, my friend Uday Shankar, who's probably among the most successful professionals running a media company. When he joined, I remember the day he was appointed and we broke the news, and I won't take his name, but a friend of mine said, you appointed a journalist as a CEO of a company. He won't do well. He'll run down Star, and look at where Uday's taken Star. So these are Biharis, these are Indians, these are professionals who've done very well in our domain, and I'm sure there are many more that I haven't taken. My friend Avinash Pandey, who's the number 2 at Star News, a very young guy, and many more, sir. Mr. Sinha knows probably more people in media than I do, certainly more Biharis. So with this, I'd really like you to give a big round of applause to our speakers. And I always say, when you're sitting in the audience, applaud harder, because someday you'll be on the stage and you'll need the applause. So it's very karmic. It's very karmic.